Lynette, what's up? Good morning. Good morning, family. It's early. It's early. I heard Trump is taking on the deck. Yes, he is. That's good. I'm gonna vanish for a little bit. 10 p.m. in Australia. Nice. About that. It's a good time. All right. 1 minute. 1 minute countdown. Howdy, Becky. I see I'm going to let you in really soon. All right, folks, we got 20 seconds left. Good morning, good evening, and good night to, I guess, everyone, whoever's going to be listening to this and whenever they'll be listening to this. You all know who I got on now. It's Becky Barron. I've talked about Becky plenty of times. We all have an idea of who she is and what she's done, but here she is right now. Let me let her in. Perfect timing. Let's stop the screen share. Becky.
Hi. Hi, Nick.
Hi, how are you? This is awesome. It's a pleasure to be in your presence, actually. Yeah.
Oh, bless you. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, thanks for being so open and so down. I'm sure in your life right now, you're probably just the busiest person ever.
Really busy, but
I would
I've
imagine.
since the whole Watcher thing, I've kind of drawn back a bit and sort of going in a new direction. So I've had some downtime, which is nice because I was working and working and working too much. But yeah.
You got downtime. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been really intense for about 2.5 years. So
I know.
it's
I understand. I don't. How am I coming through? Am I choppy or you're a little choppy? I'm trying to figure out if it's me or you.
You're a tiny little bit choppy there,
It
but
looks like it might be me. I might have a solution. Let's figure this out. 1 second. Let's see here. It might skip. For anyone out there watching, just hang tight. I'm going to switch networks. Apparently, this one's too slow. There we go. Okay. Did it happen? Are we good? We're still live?
I can hear you, yeah. We're live. Is this going out to people?
Cool.
This is going out. It's not just you. It's not just you and I, Nick.
No, this is live.
Oh, great.
That's awesome. No, you got so many people in here right now. Lynette is one of your biggest fans. She's like, Becky's beautiful. Everyone's just saying hi right now. And,
hi.
Oh, that's so sweet. You guys.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
How
Becky,
did you
I'm curious, and I'm sure most people of you. Okay, so you know Angelina Stardust. She Ascension Essentials. She took me in after I went to jail for being at the Capitol. Yeah, and so she mentioned how she asked you about me, and that was always funny because it was spot on. And I remember thinking, well, tell her she's spot on because I feel like I'm supposed to be here. I felt like I was really supposed to be in jail. But you mentioned it was a consciousness split where there's part of me that really didn't want to be there, but part of me felt like, maybe I am supposed to be here. And so when I came out and I started listening to you, that's all I did. Like I got out of jail, and at Angelina's house, we would hear you in the background all the time. And we'd be like, what'd she just say? She said that. And like we would, and in conversations with our friends, we'd be like, well, Becky said. That like became a common thing. Well, Becky said, and I'm like, damn, I'm saying Becky said again. I got to get her on the show. I know.
Oh, bless. How long have you been doing this show for?
This show's been going on since last year. I was fired around March from my 9 to 5, and then I started making documentaries on YouTube, and that blew up. And as that blew up, I decided to do a podcast as well. And October 15th, they nuked a lot of channels around the whole thing. And my channel was one of them. So yeah, I've been like off and on. I've had 4 YouTube channels. I'm a good boy now. I don't bark up any trees that are going to get me deleted anymore. I don't even have a strike on this channel. I'm actually really fortunate right now. And now let's flip it.
Yeah, they've kicked me off. They keep kicking me off.
How long have you been doing this? How long has
my weird life has always been weird, but I suppose it got super weird about 2.5 years ago, and that was not long after that I started the YouTube channel and started talking about my experiences. So there's been, like, if you look at my YouTube videos right from the beginning, you see this massive journey that I've been on, and discovering stuff that we don't initially see in this reality behind the projection, and learning about that and learning about consciousness and everything. So it's been incredible, and I've had these amazing people join me along the way, and trusted me and allowed me into their lives to help me understand reality and consciousness and the control and the manipulation over us, and and break that down on a mass scale. Yeah,
that's massive. That must feel almost scary coming into that kind of an ability, because you're like, what am I? Did you ever think you would be a remote viewer? Is that like what you want to do when you were a kid?
Yeah, I wanted to be a midwife. I remember being that, and then I remember going to the hospital and seeing blood. My brother was in hospital and he had a chest drain on him, and there was blood, and I was nearly vomiting. I was like, and my mum was like, oh, I don't think you're going to be a midwife, Becky. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be a midwife. So, but I did work in the medical. I was a medical secretary for years, and that's really helped, because most people, they come to me because they've got medical problems. So I understand the medical terminology and what they're talking about and the human anatomy. So I was in the NHS for about 10 years, which helped enormously in the work that I do. So there was a plan. I didn't realise.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That job, how important that was going to be.
Yeah. Big time. Wow.
But no, I didn't sit there going, I'm going to be a remote viewer healer. I'd never, ever, it never came into my consciousness. It naturally happened because I woke up at 27 and then I started getting attacked by energies and everything. And I had no clue. It's not like I read a book. I was just like seeing reptilians to ETs to having all understanding stuff that I'd never read in a book. So information was coming through and I was just like, wow. And then my life fell apart. And then it was I kept getting attacks, energy attacks. And then I was like, well, what is this? And then I started to investigate. So every attack led me to more understanding of the control and the manipulation over us. And the first it was reptilians. So they first started to notice these weird lizard-like things come into my life. And then it's not like I even advertised like, oh, I can do this. It wasn't like that. People just naturally started to come to me for help and going, oh, I've got a problem. I think I've got a lizard in my life. Oh, and I was like, oh, okay, I know a little bit about
that. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then the remote view came. Met this amazing man, Toto, and he was like, you can travel. And I was like, really? What's that? And then I started traveling and doing journeys and just seeing beyond this reality. But then 2.5 years ago, that's when the big veil came down. So I stopped working in the projections because the physical reality is just a projection. And I started actually working at the light body level where we create our physical reality, and started to, that came down 2.5 years ago. And it's been a crazy ride since, an amazing crazy ride.
It sounds like a crazy ride. You're very sought after. All I hear about are people who are like, I'm not going to be able to see her until like 6 months from now. And I'm like, sweet, she's on my podcast. But what was the
I kind of changed direction though, but
you did
sorry, you go ahead.
No, this might actually talk in too, because let's see, so you're now teaching people how to do it themselves, correct, as opposed to being an assistant. And in prior, are you now only working with that light manifesting body, the light body, and are now you teaching people how to do that as well?
Yeah, we all have light bodies. You've got 2 light bodies. Everyone has that, unless you can be disconnected from your heart consciousness. But we all have 2 light bodies. We are bodies of light. You wouldn't be here if you weren't that body of light. So what I realized recently, that what came over humanity is this God program, this savior program, that our power is outside of ourselves. And this is where religion comes from. This is where politics comes from. This is where the celebrities come from, where we look up and go, oh, they're going to save us. They're going to make our life better and everything like that. And I've spoken a lot about that through my YouTube channel and stuff like that. And then I had, and then it just dawned on me, because I had an attack, that I'm in that. I'm going to be, and I can help you and everything. And people started, look at me, even though I don't want them to look at me like that, as a savior. And then I was like, fuck this. This is wrong. And everyone, what I can do, everyone can do. Yeah. The reason I can do the things that I can do is, 1, the belief. 2, that is the beliefs, and also the connection of the left and right brain. So the reason we can't do these things, I haven't been able, is because the left and the right brain they're not fully connected, because our perceptions of male energy or our perceptions of female energy. So your brain is another representation of masculine and feminine. So your right side of your brain is actually your masculine consciousness, and the left side is the female consciousness. But if you grow up and your dad's being a bastard, and you don't like male energy, then your left brain doesn't want to connect to the right brain.
Wow.
Well, to learn who you are, those two have to connect. Yeah.
Mhm.
And to have all your abilities and all your gifts, not just psychic gifts, because we all have that. We're all travelers. You all can travel and understand the universe and planets and yourself and go down timelines. Everyone can do that. But the reason we haven't been taught, you know, we kind of like, here's maths and science, you know, everyone needs to go to Harry Potter school and saying everything's possible, you know. But we're all travelers. You're all here. You're sitting here. You didn't come here because you sit still. Your consciousness traveled to this amazing planet called Mother Earth and decided, right, I want to have a 3D experience. Yeah. So I've started doing courses, and don't get me wrong, there was a little insecurity in me going, oh, can people do this? You know, but no, doing the courses and seeing people develop and watching them break down their beliefs and then seeing them travel and going back into their timelines, to connecting to loads of different things, different planets, to the healing their trauma and seeing them blossom. Oh my God, it's like the most amazing thing. I love it. That's so yeah, yeah.
That's good. Congratulations on that. Yeah, because that's one of the most, for you to be here doing that kind of work has got to be the most fulfilling thing ever, you know, especially to be hands-on with someone, or at least digitally you can be right there guiding them on how to do all that and to watch them grow. That's why we came here. I like that my movies can do something similar, where it wakes people up to what's really going on, and it kind of makes them realign what's more important to them in life. That to me is, I love that we're both probably doing that in different ways. So
yeah, totally. It's very hard to follow your path, but when you decide and like nothing's coming off your path, it's amazing to be in the flow of it.
It reminds me of, I brought this up yesterday, how before I think my life completely turned into another thing, I was going to a chiropractor who people saw all throughout the world. They'd come visit him or they'd fly him out, and he stopped flying so people would go to him. And people came because he was like the manifestation guru. Like, you go to him and the only thing he would do is he'd look at me, he'd say, just stand. And he'd look at me and go, did you just get in a fight with your wife? This is when I had a wife. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, I can tell. Your feminine side is completely droopy. It's drooping. So like, he would always do the same thing on me. And then I would always feel very, you know, balanced afterwards. But I think it was just the conversations that we had that made me realize the importance. And maybe the tune-up helped. But he mentioned when your left and your right are in balance, you'll be able to tell what exit to get off on when you're on the freeway, so to speak, for where you want to go. So having a balance is key. Intuition, I guess, is more acceptable, or you can receive it better. Okay, so I want to bring something up that has gotten me into some heat, because I love listening to you, and a lot of things you say, actually mostly everything. And I've sent your YouTube page to friends of mine who, most of them are older ladies that I respect and who have been around for, you know, more than I have. And they say that you're spot on with everything. And I love that. Wow. I'm like, fuck yeah, cool. I'm not crazy. And then and then I see the episode of Trump, or I wouldn't call it an episode, maybe it was a download of, and I resonated with it immensely when you mentioned that Trump had been taken down near around the time he had gotten COVID, and what is now operating could be AI facilitated by Hillary with a little bit of Trump consciousness. I don't know, but I actually started. I've spoken about that on some big podcast, and I pissed a lot of people off. Yeah,
yeah.
I've even pissed my own folks, but it is something we should actually ponder, because look at anyone who has been like Trump in the past. They've all been killed. So on that note, what was it like seeing what you saw, and have you gotten any other downloads from that whole situation? And do you want to elaborate on it for anyone who may not even know about it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know when first Trump came in, when I focused on Trump. I think it was yeah, sometime last year to look back at the videos, but I noticed that Trump and Hillary were like enemies, and Hillary literally no consciousness in this woman. So, and her intentions were just horrendous. And when looking at Trump, his intentions, at least he was conscious. Yeah. He had consciousness running in him. He had a heart, and his intentions, really good. And so, and then there's a whole campaign of him getting in and what he was going to do. And I wanted to help him as much as I could. Yeah. So, and I saw that a huge amount of black magic. I mean, I think of the, little old me and how much I've been attacked along the way. But you think of someone like President Trump, like, the stuff, the attacks that happen, like horrendous. So I could really sympathize with him. And so I'd go and visit and sort of see the dynamic. And he would give me information, like he was going to release ET information, disclose ET information, to, talk about the relationship with his wife, to and then like COVID hit, and I saw like Fauci and stabbing him in the back, and I didn't know it was Fauci at the time in the video, but I saw the back stabbing, and so all this, and then but I did see him winning the election, so it was like there's so much hope, and like this is going to be fine. And then so I did lots of journeys which are shared with the YouTube thing on YouTube.
You saw in this recent election or the first one?
Oh, the recent. I didn't really have anything to do with him on the first one at all. Okay. It was just the second one.
Wow.
And then I noticed. See, it goes into quite depth because I'll tell you the big story. There's this universe, and there's another universe, and the other universe invaded this universe, and it's got the Watchers, these giants that I came across, and they basically brought in all the belief structures, the religions, the blue DNA. They a different type of consciousness. So they placed the royal families, the royal family bloodlines. They're not natural to this reality. They're placed there. They're not the real royals or anything like that. They're basic parasites. And Trump was connected to these Watchers, but I saw these Watchers as two sides. So they had the Dark Watcher, which was, they wanted like basically complete control and dominance over the human race. They want basically turn everybody into like robots. Yeah. There's no heart consciousness, to replace our heart consciousness with technology. And that's what immunizations are. When you get an immunization in your arm, the metals go up into the left side of the brain and stops the connection from the left and the right in certain points in the brain. So when I look at people's brains, I see metal on there, which stops the heart talking to the brain. That's why we have immunizations. Yeah.
Wow.
So I had to remove the metal out of the brain so the brain can function in a proper way. And people, obviously, we get these immunizations when we're babies. Yeah, we get them when we're children. And we think, and they cause slight like sleeping problems, anxiety problems, depression problems. They cause stuff that you wouldn't link to an immunization. You wouldn't link that. Yeah. Wow. But these problems grow. Yeah. So, horrendous. What was I was on a roll there, Nick, and I've just lost my roll.
It was about the Watchers and explaining the
oh yeah. So you've got one side of the Watchers, and then you've got the good side. Well, I saw the good side of the Watchers, and Trump was connected to this good side. And when I spoke to this side of the Watchers, which is the only side that I spoke to, and I spoke to the good side, they wanted freedom for humanity. They wanted freedom for Mother Earth and everything like that. So, it was connected to Trump. So I was like, great, they want freedom. They want freedom for all. So brilliant. So I saw that intention was really good and everything like that. And then the election came, and it was really intense, the energies around Trump. I remember going into the White House and clearing all the energies up. You've got synthetic energies, you've got fake masculine, you've got fake feminine, you've got black magic, these three horrible energies, that really screw up someone's mental, emotional well-being. And he had I saw that he had dark secrets that he was scared that were going to be released. And so there was a lot of, if he had told the truth of what was going on and who Hillary was, and he actually was truthful to the public, he probably would be alive today if he was true to himself. But he got frightened. Anyway, what I saw was, I remember I was in England and I was having my hair done. And I get a call saying Trump's in hospital with COVID. So I go back home and I look in, and Trump's not in the White House. He's in an underground military base, and he'd been poisoned. So I saw that he'd been poisoned, that Melania, his wife, had been poisoned, and another man had been poisoned. And he was in dire straits. And the energies around him was horrendous, because it was like the doctors around him didn't want him to live. And I saw his daughter come in. So I fought my ass off. and anyway, I saw his daughter coming in, and the doctors handing the no resuscitation order. And I was like, fuck. So, but she refused to sign it. And then stayed on life support. And I was like, oh. But then a few days later, he comes out, and then like on screen, like everything's fine. And I'm like, maybe I'm wrong, because I can do journeys, and I could be wrong. I'm not like a oracle. I can see things, and my perceptions and everything. I could be wrong, and I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to be wrong. I didn't want to be right. Mm-hmm. And then but I saw him, and I felt so much sadness. I remember feeling this sadness when I was looking at him. This whoever this was, I didn't know at the time, but there's so much sadness, and I didn't want to look into it. And then later on, I did a Q&A. So I do a Q&A every couple of weeks for my patron, and people come in and people ask me, and they always ask me. I've refused questions now about Trump. No more questions. And so someone asked, and I was like, he's dead. I'm like, he's gone. He's not. So I saw his consciousness on the other side, and he was very happy to go. So I've done everything that I was supposed to do. Wow. It's like, oh my God. And then I was like, well, who is this other thing? Yeah. What's being displayed on our screens? And I hadn't really gone into the whole clone thing. It hadn't come up in the work that I'd done. And then I saw that this was a clone, and just the information on that, and that it was run by the darker side, so Hillary's side, the darker watcher. Wow. It was all linked to that, and but what I've learned, Nick, is that myself, I was putting Trump on a savior. He's going to save us. Mm-hmm. And then also what I learned, that savior mode, even though I was talking about it, I was in it myself, and I looked at Trump, he was going to save, and and really even the watchers, because the watchers on the good side were like, oh, we're going to help free humanity. And then it's like, actually, humanity is going to free humanity. Do you know what I mean? That's we're going to do it. Nobody else. We're not going to have this superhero, because they basically all that superhero story that they brought in, that's from the watchers, and basically these two watchers, they played like a video game, and we're in the middle. And what I discovered is that even the good side of the watchers, they wanted Gaia to be free and humanity to be free, but only at a certain frequency. They didn't want us to go really, really high in frequency. So what I noticed is when Gaia was going higher in frequency, the bad watcher and the good watcher would work together to keep her in a lower frequency.
Oh my gosh.
So there was no good watcher, just two shitty watchers. Yeah. And Trump would have done that as well. So Trump, in it, his intention's good, but ultimately he still wanted control. Yeah. And that's not where we're going. That's not where we're going.
It's not where we're headed.
No.
You know, I have to
No.
say, once I heard this and I started to pay attention a little bit, I realized there are times in the past where I do now recall Trump feeling completely empty, like at the rally on the 6th. I remember watching and feeling like, is this Trump? This is what a Trump rally is like? I had a better time at a Bernie rally. And I just, the energy was just not there. And then once I told a few friends, they started to look at pictures, 2016 pictures of Trump. His like natural face has more of a positive smile, smirk almost. And then now his face is like grimace. It's like a constant discontent, almost emptiness now. And I totally agree with what you're saying. A lot of people looked up to him as if he was the savior. Even me. I made a 4-hour film for his birthday last year. That's Savior of the USA. I could be like, what he did was ignite the purpose in us together to fight for what we know what is right. Now him being gone, is he working on the other side still to assist, or does he like just look and go, you guys got this, someone to go figure something else out?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen. When we die, we would naturally go back to our soul. We would naturally integrate back into our soul, have a look at what shit we did, what shit we didn't do, and then evaluate what we want to do next. So that's so yeah, I haven't had a look, but I assume he's just done the same that we will eventually do. Have done in the past.
Oh, it's exciting. Yeah. So you saw inside the White House as well, and saw that there's you saw a forensics team or some kind of almost investigative work going on there?
Yeah. So when Biden got in, it's like he didn't get in. It's like he wasn't in the White House. And when I went in, God, this is journey quite a while back, I saw like no one was working. It wasn't a workplace, and I saw they were searching for information. It was a crime, like a crime scene, and that place is a crime scene. The president of the United States has just been murdered. Do you know what I mean? And they know that. Plus the information that people hold, but I don't think I investigated. The military were around the White House, if I remember rightly, on that journey, and it was like there was no government. There, you've got no government. It was a governmentless country, and how that was affecting the states, because the different states was like, well, what do we do? Where do we go? Like, who's in charge? I saw Biden actually get murdered in his bed
after Trump.
Yeah, after Trump, after Trump died, I think after the election, if I can remember rightly. There was a gun to his head. He was in bed asleep, and bang.
Wow.
That's what I saw on my journey.
Oh man, Becky TV must be amazing. I want to have Becky TV in my mind. Just be like, oh snap. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I can see that.
And the thing is, Nick, we've got all these abilities. You've got these abilities. You'll have to come on a course.
I'd love to.
And then you could do all that and remote view and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I would love to. I feel like right now is a great time in my life. I feel like a lot of my life is the product of just imagination, which is really cool. Like, I wouldn't be here if I didn't imagine the things that are happening. And so, okay. Biden is now, a lot of people would think Biden had died a while ago, considering these before and after photos. Like, if you see a Biden at the, let's say, early 90s, late 90s, compared to his face now, dramatic differences, but it could have been. Are there a lot of body doubles and clones out there? Because that's, I guess, one of my ultimate conspiracies is, if I could prove the cloning thing, well, it would just make everything else fall into line. But I believe in it. It's just all about, I would like to make a film about it and help people believe in it as well, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone too much in depth in it, but when I looked at the cloning thing, it was all falling down. So these clones, they would I saw they would make clones of celebrities, and then rich people would buy them. So, you know, you wanted a Brad Pitt, or I'm like, I'll have a Brad Pitt, please. And yeah, some really weird stuff. Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, so people would, but I did see that the base of this production of this, because I also saw that they would glitch, like there would be problems. They would, yeah. But what I also saw in these clones, that you could be like, you could be married to somebody, they get killed, and then a clone put in place and not necessarily notice. The wife wouldn't notice. That's how good these clones are.
That's phenomenal. Well, it seems like they've been having clones since the 40s or 50s, maybe even sooner or older.
Yeah. I remember one of my first ever clients, I didn't advertise. He'd come to me and he was like, I need to talk to somebody. I was like, okay. And he said, I feel like you can help me. And I was like, okay. I did hypnosis at the time. And anyway, he started telling me, he's man in his 30s. He was like, Becky, he says, it's like I've been in the military. He said, but I've got no military experience. He said, I know how to load a gun. I know, I search out rooms. I've got all these abilities and I don't know where they've come from. I was like, okay. I knew not, I don't research stuff. I don't do anything. So when I go in blank. I have no clue. And so I did a journey and I saw eventually it was step by step. And because I was very new and I didn't, I was learning. But I found out that he was taken as a little boy at 6 years old by the military. His body, I saw he was cloned. So I saw him in a room, in a military room, and his body was cloned. His DNA was taken and it was cloning. So I saw him as a 6-year-old and I saw another 6-year-old with no sort of consciousness in. And then I saw these machines. And they were transferring part of his consciousness into this clone. Well, he went back to his life. He didn't know he was abducted and taken by the military. It was so traumatic, he suppressed the memory. And then this little boy, because it was in the UK, he was sold to American military. And he was put under this clone with a small piece of consciousness of this man's consciousness in. He was put under the American military, and then he was trained to be an assassin.
Oh my
so he grew up being an assassin, like they trained him, and then he worked for the military government to be an assassin. And this gentleman that I was working on, he was getting all so everything this clone learned, it was going through into this man. So he started to know like military stuff and checking out rooms, very like Jason Bourne, but he had never learned, and it was because his consciousness was attached to this clone. And then, but even awful stuff, Nick, like because this clone had been killing people, he'd been murdering people for a living, and to the point where the clone even murdered his wife. He got married, he murdered his wife. Well, this poor man was getting all this emotion. Do you know what I mean? Like feeling like he had murdered somebody or he had done something bad. Do you know what I mean? Even though he, it was horrendous for him, absolutely horrendous for him. So it was like clearing all that up. I mean, now they don't need assassins. I don't know why the assassins are there, because they've got the technology. If they want someone dead, they can just point technology at them, get to a point in their trauma and get them to kill themselves. So I think the assassin thing is like dead and buried. But
would you say that's how they get people to kill others as well too? Can they do that almost like John Lennon's killer, if that was a real thing?
Yeah, John, I didn't look into the killer, but I saw that his wife was involved in that. His wife was an agent and worked for the American military, and saw that she was very high. So everything that John said to her, she would pass it on. So she's got so I don't know about, obviously, I suppose that I've looked at drugs that do that, the pharmaceutical companies putting out, like, basically people with like healing people with like depression and then go psychotic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the technology that, has been, the technology that they use have been horrendous. The reason I found out about this technology, they pointed it at me, and so I went like 48 hours of this beaming technology on me. And it was like I was fighting for my life, because it was like everything. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself. That was for 48 hours. And the only reason I'm here is my babies. And then when I got out of that energy and I started to search for that energy, because it was just unnormal, it was too heavy, I found technology that had been beamed at me for 48 hours. And they called it the suicide program. Generally, they'll point this technology at someone, and within 4 hours they've committed suicide. But they've got to have the belief or the trauma in there, so they pick up the trauma. So they don't need assassins anymore. But I blew up the technology.
Yeah,
So.
like badass. Yes. Well, that brings me to the
Yeah.
next question that a good friend, Beck, she brought up was, I guess, how could one protect themselves in a world like this spiritually? How does one have the awareness to heal themselves rather than having to go to someone else? Or is there a rigorous learning that must first be implemented? And like, yeah, spiritually, I feel like light workers, especially, it just comes with the work. There are times where I felt like I was attacked, but I didn't have any confirmation. It just kind of felt like, the energies were completely changed. And it's usually when I hit a really high frequency of love in what I'm doing. I find almost instantaneously afterward, the next day or something, there's like a little tiny battle to try and bring me down. It's very interesting.
Yeah, really interesting. It's know yourself, know your power, but that takes a long time. It can take a time to get there. And anyone who's being attacked from outside, that attack that's going on can only work on the consciousness or the trauma that one has. So generally when people come, I'm getting attacked left, right, and center, but actually the core of it is within their consciousness. So they're attacking themselves first. Yeah, or a belief is there, or a vulnerability is there, and then the matrix just work on that. They're like snakes. They're pieces of shits that just get in and then try to like break it down even more. So they can only work on our pain and our traumas, and that's why they brought traumas in. It kind of creates like a portal in our consciousness where they can get in with their synthetic energies or their technology to make it even worse. But you think, Nick, they've been working 24/7 for years and years and years and years on us, and we're still way stronger than them. And it's going to get a hell of a lot easier, because our universe now, Gaia, Mother Earth, is protecting it. So the outside force is coming in. So we've just got to basically deal with ourselves. And then obviously there's people in this universe that, are in pain, and then they attack people with their emotions and stuff like that, and technology. But the big chunk of it, I feel, or how I see things, the big war is over. But it's just ourselves that we have to sort out. Because what the Watchers did, Nick, is that they brought in this abuse victim mentality. So the male, to turn the male energy into an abuser and the female energy into the victim. And this created a network all around Gaia, and people are stuck in this sort of network. And and it's getting out of that energy system and coming out of the abuse and victim mentality, and coming out of the savior mode and coming into know yourself and your power. But first we have to heal ourselves. Yeah. We do have to heal ourselves, and that means looking at ourselves and understanding ourselves, and that can be hard. I understand that it's not easy to look at oneself. It's difficult.
It's really not. Yeah. It's easy.
So it doesn't matter. People go, well, you can take implants out, you can do this and you can do that. But at the end of the day, we can all reflect on ourselves and our experiences and how and what, what does trigger us? So if you're being triggered by masks, people wearing masks, or you're being triggered by your husband or your wife or your children, and it brings up a huge amount of emotion within you, that doesn't really represent actually what's going on, you know, being a bit of a drama queen or drama queen, you know, king, then that is something in your consciousness that you need to search back in. And most of the trauma that we experience is generally happens when we're children. So it's like looking back at our childhood. You find me funny, don't you?
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a roommate I had who completely transformed after their mother came into town for like a week. They turned into a drama queen, and they shattered. They became a kid. Yeah, I saw like the kid in them come out. So yeah, it can do that. It can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The relationship, when our relationship with our mom and our dad is the most important relationships that we're going to experience, because our mom is a representation of our heart. So if we're not connected to our mom as a child, then we're going to find it very difficult to connect with ourselves to our own heart consciousness, because she's a representation. So how you feel about your mum is a representation of how you feel about your female energy. How you feel about your dad is a representation of how you feel about your masculine energy, because our mums and dads consciousness live within us. We take on that consciousness. So if you're hating your dad or you're hating your mum, so those relationships really need to be understood and reflected on and forgiven of all the stuff that comes through, because we're human and we're not perfect, and our parents aren't perfect. But when we're little, we think our parents are mini gods, you know, to us they're mini gods with no problems, and then we realize they fuck up just like us, and we have to go through forgiveness and understanding that, because trauma is just a perception. It's a perception of a time that's happened, and that perception can have a huge effect on us. And it's really turning trauma around is changing the perception. So it's like if your dad was abusive to you, you would take on like, well, you know, I'm not wanted, I'm not needed, I'm not loved. But then if you look at it from the dad's point of view, he didn't feel wanted, needed, or loved, and then couldn't express that to his child. And then it's like compassion and love can come towards the dad, and that means compassion and love can come towards oneself. So it's kind of like a rolling effect.
Are you tapping into me right now? Because that's kind of like my dad.
Oh, really? Oh, bless you. No, I wasn't. I wasn't. That was just
my dad's
intuition, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. I mean, that's good to know. It's key. And it makes me think of something. It makes me think what your take is on twin flames.
Twin flames. Twin flames. What is my take on twin flames? What we do in relationships, what I've learned is that we recreate the trauma within our relationships to understand our childhood. And we can be bound to people by love, we can be bound to people by trauma, or a mixture. And the way, what we're trying to do ultimately is evolve. Every person here to evolve.
Yeah.
And how we evolve is actually getting both our energies, our masculine and feminine, to come one and work together and dance together beautifully, so we can create a beautiful reality.
Yeah.
Now, we're doing that within ourselves, with our partners. We're trying to do that. You know, we're practicing with our partners. Well, how do I do this? You know, how do I get one within? So I'm going to practice on my partner. So you're kind of like reflecting one another and helping one another. And I think there's the strength, the stuff, the healing that we're going through, that basically we have been pushed to do. Humanity has chosen to be here at this time, really pushed to do. So the intensity of the relationships we have been so intense, because the healing has been intense, and it's a lot easier to heal when you've got someone reflecting your shit back at you. Yeah. So I think the reason that people come into each other's life is to help evolve. And I mean, twin flames, what does that mean? I've seen couples, and they come from the same soul. They come, you know, our soul produces the light body, so they come from the same soul, and they're always bonded. But I've seen couples that aren't twin flames, that are just bonded by trauma, and once that trauma's healed, they'll they'll part.
Wow.
So
yeah,
twin flames and twin flames. Yeah.
I like what you bring up about perception is so precise. I've gone on these Vipassana meditation retreats that are 10 days. It's very actually extreme for a meditation retreat. People who go are probably don't realize how much hard work it is. But with all hard work, there's some great benefit. And what you're saying is exactly what would happen in moments where I wasn't meditating. Possibly I was just walking around in nature, and I would have the clearest perception of a time, a memories I'd forgotten, memories I didn't even know existed. Because once you're so in that meditative cycle, then you're in a different playground. You're at a subconscious level of things that normally in regular life just go right by. And in seeing those memories as an adult who has just sat down for XYZ hours, I could transform, like, oh, the first like serious girlfriend I had, and I kind of like would observe what was going on there from this perspective now, as opposed to that person in there, and things would clear. Things would feel so good, and I would say because of sitting, but also because of these epiphanies and seeing things differently. I guess it gives it less power, you know?
Yeah, it does. I think when you're coming from a higher perspective, which is what the heart can do, because we view things in physical reality, and that child just sees whatever what's gone on. But if you realize actually you've had a hard time, and the reason you've had a hard time, the reason you've come here, because you knew consciousness was so screwed up. You came here to heal these aspects. You came here to forgive you, so that you didn't pass this on, and you stop the trauma from happening. But yeah, a change of perception can just heal this, because you have such a greater understanding of yourself. It's just so healing that no energy work just needs to happen, or anything needs to be taken out. The consciousness just heals itself. I see consciousness as this beautiful crystalline rivers, and then there's like trauma, which creates all this like big rocks in our consciousness, so the energy can't flow. And it's just looking at that rock, and then understanding that rock and breaking it down until there's inside that rock is another piece of consciousness that's been suppressed, because every trauma suppresses a small piece of us, a piece of happiness, a gift, the ability to love, the ability to see beauty. And then that, when that rock crumbles and that it turns back to crystal, the river can flow again. And then we get more of us into our physical body as well. We become more like ourselves. We actually physically change, because we've actually got more of our consciousness which changes the way our bodies are, and how we project into this reality. It's a really tough, horrendous, heart-wrenching, most painful journey I've been on, but the most rewarding.
I know, right? This is great, being a human spirit in a body. It's hard work, but I also feel like it's like a dream, and when it's done, nothing will have such an impact on us in that moment when it's done. I think we'll just be that light body, and
we're like, Nick, we were here. We were here. Our grandchildren were like, you were there. And we're like, I know, we were there.
Right? Yeah. Like coming home, the
warriors,
and seeing all your family out in the terminal or something.
Yeah, we did it.
You just lived life on Earth. Yeah, I did. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
You have a seat, kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All the badass. It's quite interesting, because like how our universe was before the Watchers, before trauma, because we didn't have trauma in our universe. Gaia, Mother Earth, she was like the most. She's the power zone. Yeah, she's like she's the mother, like not just of this planet, but all the planets in this universe. Right. And to get to Gaia, to get to Mother Earth, you had to be you had to learn a lot along the way. You would have gone to lots of planets before you got to Mother Earth. Right. So, and the Watchers came in and basically fucked all that up, but at the end of the day, we're on a planet with the most heart consciousness, the most beauty. And so we're like bloody fortunate, do you know what I mean? Because when we connect to our hearts, we're also connecting to Mother Earth. So the backing that we have is the energy that we are connected to is enormous. So even though it's a really difficult journey, we've got so much support.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel that. So with the last 10 minutes we've got, I want to ask an important question about the future of our entertainment. Right
Oh
now,
yeah.
like, yeah, it seems like the cabal and everything that we've learned about has such a grip on Hollywood. And I grew up knowing I was going to be a film director. I knew when I was like 10 because I was making movies for my family at that young age, and music. And then I had a near death experience where I almost died in a car, and I didn't, and I didn't even get into trouble. It was almost like I did die because I just woke up, and my ex-wife was like, "You totaled the car, but you parked it really well." And I thought, "What? Who parked it?" So I don't know. It could have been divine because ever since my life has been a dream. Now, okay, why am I bringing this up? Hollywood. Once I decided that I could have died, I started pursuing my dreams 100%. And now my life is totally in alignment in a direction that where I think the dreams I had as a kid are going to come true. Well, more so because they already have. But am I entering into the jungle of a beast in thinking that I could assist in reversing the brainwash of the Hollywood experiment for the last 100 years? That's one of the things I really want to look after is protecting the way we learn and watch movies and to reverse the brainwash that has been going on.
Yeah. When it's that amazing, beautiful story, Nick, because it generally is. We literally have to get to the rock bottom, or something big has to happen in order us to like wake up. And when I'm just looking at that incident, I just see more of you, more of your heart consciousness coming into your body, and it's like, yeah. So you got more of yourself, even though you probably went and checked out and like, oh no, I'm not leaving, I'm staying.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I looked at Hollywood, because I've looked at Hollywood a little bit, and which I've said, but I'll repeat a little bit. It was run on a river of drugs, prostitution, political, money laundering, satanic stuff. And then you've got all the films, just Hollywood, all the beautiful people. Some knew, some didn't know, some got higher up, they would get taken in and then basically owned. So they got they would be filmed doing something, so they were owned. So these people that we deem rich, famous, beautiful, a lot of them are just slaves, have been slaves. And underneath that is this satanic energy that they live on. It's very addictive. It's like an addictive energy. So there was like a when I went there, it was like this sort of electrical buzz under Hollywood, and that kind of stuck everybody together, and everyone's feasting on it. Everybody, it's horrible. But when I just, because I knew you were going to ask this question, so I went in and then I went into Hollywood just to see what was going on.
Nice.
Now, so this was today. So the first thing I saw was Hollywood. I saw the sign Hollywood, but the O sign was down. It was all like there was nothing was being looked after. And then I saw there was the depth that kept that electrical energy, that satanic energy, the drugs, the prostitution, child prostitution, all that, it all like gone. There was no substance underneath. There were still people, like famous people, trying, and reporters like, oh, this is what we're supposed to do, but there's no glue holding it together anymore. So what we're seeing on the TV, I don't know, it's like, and what I also saw is they're all fighting with one another. So the dark are imploding on themselves. So I think there was very few people in Hollywood that were, got to the top where they literally sell their souls or be made to, they got trapped basically. And they were just, yeah. So, but also what I've seen is that this new energy that's coming in. It's like the dark are falling, and then all these beautiful people can rise, because we're not fighting against anything anymore. Do you know what I mean? So all the really good people, the integral people that want the best for everybody, you know, they want this beautiful world to really take place. Where before we were locked down, you know, people had been born and they knew that they were good people, so they would make their life shit. You know, they were targeted. But now there's nothing to attack us, you know, that we can just rise up and become the people that we were meant to be without the struggle. So everything's going to change. Not just the movie industry, the medical industry, the everything, all the structure. It's all going to transform, where it's going to be the good for all, not just for a select few people.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. What a good note to end on.
Yeah.
It's 5:55 a.m. Gotta love numbers, synchronicities. Wow.
Yeah. So I'll look forward to seeing one of your films in the future at the cinema.
Yeah.
I'll be there with the popcorn.
Yes, you will be.
Yeah.
That'll be so awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm blown away, and I'm really grateful that you took the time to come on today. And for anyone out there who's curious, I'll send them links to your Patreon and your YouTube. But how they get involved with becoming joining your course?
Yeah. So if you go to my website, course is all booked up, but I will be putting more on in August, which you can book. But you can join Patreon, and I do a Q&A every couple of weeks, and it's great. I love that, because people just come on, ask questions, and I remote view and find out loads of great stuff, weird stuff, and just learn about the universe. And I love the Q&As. I love them, because it's like the questions are so important, and some people come up with some amazing questions.
I know. And I honestly feel like the people who ask questions in there are like from this chat box. They're like every lion and lioness that's associated, that they're always asking those kinds of questions that we want to be asking, which I find juicy. So guys, you gotta check that out. I'll link you guys up into it.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, lovely to have new people.
Oh, you're so amazing. Thank you so much. And I hope everything is going well in your life. And it feels like it. Really feels like
it's going great. Going really great. No, thank you so much for having me on. You're such a beautiful soul.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much. Hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
See ya. Hey, family. Thanks for being here. And I hope you have a good one. I'm going to sign out. I might jump back on and go live. We'll see. It's 6 a.m. Yeah, 6 a.m. What an early one. That was so cool. We're so lucky we got Becky. That was so much fun. I wonder if I'm waking up anybody with my loudness. Anyway, it's my last day here in this hotel. Hope you guys are good. I know that was so awesome. Such a good time. Such a good time. I'll see you guys in Telegram.